We got lost, we got stuck because of weather, and that was the most miserable time. Our camera actually got ruined exiting one of the shoots because of the weather. Was like sideways sleet, snow. It just got into everything, and the footage was fine. Camera died. This Mountain Life is a film about how different people interface with the mountains. A film that isn't just about people skiing down the steepest slopes, more about the spiritual and artistic reasons why they want to be in these inhospitable places.
The mountain will lift you physically, intellectually, and spiritually.
My friend was in a severe avalanche, and he told me this story, and the idea from the film came from his story. I always had it in the back of my mind, and I interviewed him one day about it, and as he was telling me that story, he told me about his friend Martina and her mom, Tanya, who were planning to do a massive traverse of the coastal range, and at that point I knew I had a film to start with.
Und ich darf nach vorne bitten, Grant Baldwin. There he is.
I was trying really hard to find people for this film that didn't fit the mold of what you've seen before. I wanted a diverse selection of people. And I'm really excited that the film is, all the people I found that I thought were really interesting happened to be, there's more women in this movie than men, which is pretty rare for a mountain movie. And I just wanted to see the interface of spirituality, and people go there for clarity and also for adrenaline. But I just wanted to kind of make a mountain movie that was about all the other stuff. The avalanche was a reenactment, obviously, because it took place about 8 years prior. The only other stage scene was the ice cave, because when I met Martina and Tanya, after they hadn't seen a person in 2 months, and we met them at sort of the middle point, they told me about this cave experience that they had, and it sounded like the best day they had had in the mountains, because there weren't that many good days. But they showed me some amazing photographs that they took in there, but they didn't have any good video. They had a little bit of GoPro footage, and they showed me on a map exactly where they found the cave, and we did a 175-kilometer snowmobile ride to get there, where we reenacted what they would have experienced that day. The crew was myself as director and shooter, and then I would always have a helper. And the helper couldn't just be any camera assistant. They had to be able to have an avalanche training background, rope rescue training, so that if we did get into trouble while we were out there, that we were competent enough to look after ourselves. We couldn't expect our subjects of our film to save us. And that assistant did a lot of things. You know, they would help set up camp and melt snow for water, so that I wasn't distracted, and I could focus just on filming the subjects in that environment.
The plan is to traverse the coast mountains of British Columbia and Alaska. It's myself and my mom.
I'll be 60. Yeah, let's do it. We will have to cover 2,300 kilometers.
For the look of the film, we had some rules that the camera would always be a gentle movement, a very calm, trying to give you a sense of that spirituality. But if things did get intense, that things could loosen up a little bit, we kind of had a rule of that the subjects of the film would never address the camera directly. It would always be a verite angle, which was unfortunate because we didn't really realize we needed that until halfway through shooting. So a lot of the footage we couldn't use of them talking to the camera. We just felt while we were editing that it just removed you from this intimate experience. We decided to shoot in cinema 4K, which is a little bit taller than what the finished film is. So we always knew we would lose a bit of the top and the bottom of the picture. So had to be very conscious of that while we were framing the shots. But absolutely, I think scope really is the most immersive aspect to show the BC Mountains. So the resolution of the cameras we used, the main camera is the C300 Mark II. It's a Canon cinema camera. That was shooting in cinema 4K, which is 4096 by 2160. And then the final film was 4096 by 1716. That's the scope look. And then when we were on difficult, challenging remote shoots, we had to use a smaller camera. We went down to a Sony FS5, which I also had to choose 2 lenses for weight reasons. So I chose a 35mm lens and an 85mm, and we shot a lot of the remote stuff with those. And of course, we used a couple types of drones. A larger Inspire 2 shooting raw video for the parts that we could carry it, and then a smaller Mavic drone for the remote areas. Yeah, the whole film stayed at 4K. We basically graded the film at the scope format, so we decided early on to cut the top and the bottom, so there won't be a 16:9 version of the movie or anything, because it would require us going all the way back to the source scenes. So that's the final look, and I'm really happy with it. It's the first time I've ever shot in 4K, and to see it all the way through, and to see it in cinemas with the really good projection. It's definitely, it was a lot of work, but it pays off. How long did the movie take? It was about 2 years, which is not too bad for a documentary. My wife and I work together on our films, so it does take us longer than a team would to finish a film. We had Michael Mann do some animation for us, but other than that, I was the shooter and editor and composer with my cousin. So, you know, all those steps take time. So we really knew what we wanted to get from all these characters, so we were very efficient in the shooting side of it. So about 2 years start to finish.
6 months in the mountains. I would not do this trip.
Oh, that's fuel. Oh, I was hoping it was vodka.
I did the score of the film with my cousin. My background isn't from music, so I did music production before I ever picked up a camera. So for me, it's like my foundation. So we actually wrote the music before we edited the film, which is backwards. So I found it very refreshing to edit a scene to a piece of music that I knew could stay in there. It wasn't temp music, it was the real score. So I think it helped me get the right moods across in the edit. The bird's eye view, that's all with a drone. So what we found really effective with the drone is that, yes, you can fly around and get aerial footage, but we found it was effective just to leave it parked over top of our subjects as they would cross under, as if it was a big camera arm. They're so stable now that you can just leave the drone sitting there like a tripod in the sky. In terms of the shot where the season changes, some people are confused if that's CG or if it's real, but there are real shots. They're 2 shots taken at different seasons, and then I programmed the drone to fly a path, which I recorded and then repeated as best I could, and then I manually lined up each frame after that. So that shot took 6 days to make. Originally, I was like trying to I want to find like an old miner that's angry or something. And a friend of a friend he heard of a guy with a beard who has horses in the mountains. That was all we had to go on. There was no Google searching. It was all word of mouth. Then we tracked down Bernhard's son, who gave us a P.O. box number that we sent a letter to, and we got a map sent back to us. It was hand-drawn by Bernhard himself. We followed the map, and it was very detailed, way too much information than necessary, like the crooked tree on the left, stay wide, and you know. We get up there to his house, and we pull up, and I brought, Jen had come with me on that shoot, my son, who's 3 years old, and my dad came to help. We didn't know what we were going into. We didn't know what kind of guy he was. We didn't know if we'd ever come home. And we pull up, and we see like this beautiful handmade J.R.R. Tolkien style house, and there were 3 bears in his yard as we pulled up. I'm like, this is like a set. This is amazing. This is the feature-length version of This Mountain Life that's playing in theaters. There is a shorter cut that toured with the Banff Film Festival that just featured Martina and Tanya's Traverse. They're far different movies when you see the different ones. And we found a lot of people that did see the short version on the Banff tour have come to the theater to see the full length to get a different experience. Especially now where most theaters are filled with superhero movies. It's nice that people want to come see a movie about 2 real superheroes. Thanks very much.